All right. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for your patience on that as we get past some of the Zoom technical challenges. So, what I'm talking about today is something new, something I don't normally talk about, which I'm excited about to share with you. And that is how to find and solve the consumer pains so that you can create a true hero product, one that resonates with your target audience, one that they actually want. Okay. So this training is primarily going to be for you. You're going to get a lot out of this. If you are currently selling a product that you know should be converting faster, should be selling more, right? You're spending a heavy amount on PPC without real traction this year. Certainly, you may be losing market share to your competition, and of course, launching new products just to stay ahead of the competition, and you're struggling with that as well. So this training, what I'm going to be covering today, we're going to talk about how to listen to your target audience for comments, for their feedback, for their input that demonstrates what their pain points are and the frustrations that they have regarding products that they've tried so far. Maybe they haven't found a product, maybe they just have found the wrong product, maybe they haven't found your product. Okay. So we want to try to position your product as the solution for your target audience. Okay. I want you to be able to translate their pain points into hooks so that they click to your product listing, right? Get that traffic, get those sessions up, right? And then, of course, we want to identify ways in order to differentiate your messaging and the focus of your content to your target audience so that you can have your product stand out from competitors, okay? And then finally, focus your messaging to show how your product solves their pain and stands ahead of the competition. So by show of hands, who wants those results for their products currently? Awesome. No, I appreciate that. Very cool. All right. So who am I? First of all, normally what I ask when chat is available, normally I ask, it's like, have you ever heard of me or has been on one of my webinars in the past? I've been doing this I've been in e-commerce for about 14 years. In fact, here, let me go ahead and put this up here. I've been in e-commerce for about 14 years, been in the Amazon space, in the FBA space for about 7 years now. And I've had the privilege, had the necessity, I should say, in order to create a number of products and services for the Amazon community. First of all, to help myself, greedy to my own self-interest, I guess. But ultimately, it turns out I was able to help a lot of people. In fact, I helped over 20,000 brands selling on Amazon sell over $1 billion. And we actually do that on an annual basis now. So I would like to say that the software, the course, the agency, all these things that brought to the Amazon community have definitely had their impact. Very proud of that. I don't even consider it a brag or a humble brag. I think it's just a case of like, you know what? I put in my 10,000 hours. I put products out into the community. Any of you who have followed me over the years know how responsive I am. And so I think I've earned it. Now, one of the things I have done in the past year and a half is I'm mostly known for my Amazon advertising, Amazon PPC, Amazon DSP advertising. And then I started rolling more into what other levers do we have outside of advertising in order to increase the visibility and the engagement and the sales of products on Amazon. That led me to create about 1.5 years ago to create my proprietary product search and rescue method. I actually have a video or a couple of videos that I go through that kind of training for free on my YouTube channel. You can certainly hit me up afterwards if that helps as well. So that is who I am. And yes, so here is what I'll tell you. This whole show, this whole webinar that we're doing today is sponsored by my agency, Canopy Management. And if you do need help stealing market share in your segment, I would say that if you've gotten to the point where you're selling, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month or higher on Amazon, then working with an agency is something you should strongly consider. So I will have you definitely speak to our team over at Canopy Management because we do have a solid track record. We do have an average 38% lift in conversion rate. In other words, in working for our clients, in order to improve their product listings, we've literally been able to increase their conversion rate on average across all of our clients, an average of 38%. So you can imagine what might be the potential for yours. And of course, increasing overall sales by over 100%, 105%, I think is our average across year increase across all of our clients. So we do have a phenomenal track record in the community. And I would recommend that you certainly reach out to us. You can get that conversation started over at canopymanagement.com/strategy-call. And I was going to put that into the chat, but if chat's not working, I know I'm going to berate Zoom for this. But so let's first of all talk about what the big problem is that you, and I know I am with my own product lines, are facing in 2022. Okay, it's a combination of things. It's not just one magic bullet, right? So Amazon, as you probably have well known, is continually increasing advertising over organic. This is the same thing that happens with most search engine type platforms, happen with Google and Bing and Facebook and a lot of these, YouTube. There's a lot of these where ads, they try to push as far as they can in order to see how much ad space and how much ad revenue that they can make before people start pushing, pulling back, right? And so they've reached, I think, hopefully the peak, because a lot of the organic search have been pushed down. Now, Amazon certainly has introduced a lot of different ad types. That's a whole webinar by itself that I certainly have done and will do again. But one of the things that we see more commonly that's related to today's topic is how a lot of brands have followed people's training. They follow organization guru training, any kind of training programs, and they simply just followed step by step exactly what they were told to do. Unfortunately, what they're usually told to do is to emulate success. Take a look at the product niche they want to get into. When they actually bring the product to market, create a product listing that looks exactly or very closely to their competitive niche, the top sellers in their competitive niche, right? Show of hands, how many of you have been told that, where, emulate success if you want success of your own. Here's the challenge that we run into that is we run into a situation where when everybody looks the same, then nobody looks unique, right? Nobody stands out. And I really want that for you because it's going to give you a competitive advantage, okay? Obviously, we've gone through a pandemic, and there's a whole lot of ups and downs and subsequent pandemics that are going on, and that's going to affect e-commerce and the way that people have changed the way that they live, whether or not they work from home, whether or not their kids go to school or stay from home, whether or not they're traveling, whether they're choosing to do different types of jobs in support of their family versus simply just going for titles, going for money, whatever the case is, going for career, right? Traditional college has gotten expensive, commuting down to an office place in order to be berated inside of a cubicle for 5 days a week. Not so much, not a big fan of that anymore, right? So shoppers have been given more offline freedom because of the relaxation of COVID restrictions. And so they pull their money away from e-commerce and they're putting into brick and mortar stores. Great if you're somebody like a Walmart or Target or some, big box brand that only has half the staff that they should have in order to support your needs. But shoppers are trying to get out of the house and trying to do some local shopping. What they're going to find, though, and this is to your benefit, is they're going to find is that when things start getting busy, the lack of infrastructure, lack of employees that a lot of stores and restaurants have in the brick and mortar space in person is going to have a severe impact on their ability to service and provide product. They're going to come back to e-commerce. They're going to come back to Amazon because what does Amazon provide with Prime Day shipping? Or not Prime Day, but Prime shipping, Prime accounts, is they provide fast shipping. They provide that instant gratification. I can find pretty much anything that I want on Amazon, and I can usually have it to me within a day or two, sometimes this afternoon, in a lot of cases. That kind of appeal is going to come back to a lot of e-commerce shoppers, especially when Amazon ramps up their external advertising in order to bring shoppers back on for back to school is, of course, the next one that's coming up here during the month of August. That's going to be a big push for back to school, back to college. And then subsequently, we're going to start going into the holiday season. But Amazon has made the decision to run another Prime Day and this fall, my speculation, actually, I'm going to hold off until the end, until we do Q&A at the end. And I'll tell you what dates I think the Amazon Prime Day fall of 2022 are going to occur this year. Okay. I've thought through this a bit, so I'm going to tell you that at the end. Inflation. Oh, I was going to say product gaming methods. Yeah, product gaming methods are being hunted. So this is, of course, Amazon's legal department, again, going after big review groups and trying to shut those down. More importantly, they are shutting them down, not just shutting down the groups and their owners, they're also suing them in order to get the membership information of those who are in the groups. So if you've ever been in a Facebook review group or any other pool of product review groups, if you've ever purchased from them, you have got to get your profile out of there as fast as you can before Amazon goes through discovery in their legal cases and collects that information. Because if they make any kind of connection between one of those groups that is manipulating reviews for the sake of selling product for the sake of manipulating reviews and sales velocity, then, and if that is somehow connected to your profile on Amazon in any way, you could be at risk. Okay, just forewarn there. Inflation, of course, is pushing consumers to slow down spending. We'll see that kind of come up and go down as the federal government tries to adjust interest rates and some of these things, right, in order to try to adjust from there. But we will see where shoppers are going to be seeking more deals. They are going to pull back on some more of the luxury items unless they are affluent customers, of course. And then, of course, the big one, the big one that has hit us in 2022, which I'm sure each of you have seen, and that is a dramatic increase in advertising costs and average CPC, or cost per click. This is attributed to a number of things. One is you have a drop in traffic because Amazon is pulling back. I heard earlier today, they pulled back something like 40 or 50% of their normal ad spend from off Amazon advertising in order to bring shoppers to the Amazon platform. This is normal for Amazon. They do this every year. They do it right after Prime Day. They do it during the summer because they know that's when the summer lull occurs. Shoppers are generally not online shopping. They're traveling with their family. They're trying to get those last minute vacations in before school starts back in August, right? And so that's when Amazon will pick up the advertising again. Traffic will start coming back up. In other words, shoppers will start coming back to Amazon, and you'll start seeing your impressions and sessions climb up, and your conversion rates will start to increase. Right now, it's low for everybody. You are not alone. But I want you to be prepared for Q4 and really getting prepared for the next, not only the fall Prime Day, but also for Cyber Week. And then, of course, the holiday season. I want your product to stand out from your competition. So how do we do that? Number one is our product needs to stand out from the competition. If you've heard me recently, this is a topic that I just pound into the community because I want people to understand how important it is. I've seen what it can do. It is not the only lever. If you're just spending money on advertising and beating your head against the wall going like, this is getting way too expensive, I don't know if Amazon is right for us. Don't focus on your advertising. I know, right? An advertising agency owner saying, don't focus on advertising, right? Because I need you to understand that your listing is going to have a much bigger impact right now if you haven't optimized. Now, I can guarantee you, because I hear this, maybe it's just in the back of my head. Maybe I'm hearing voices. No, I actually hear it through on calls, on coaching, social media, emails, all that kind of stuff. And the conversation that I usually have is like, oh no, I'm already optimized. I've already optimized my product listing when I created it 5 years ago. And so it's perfect. And it's like, no, it's not, because you probably optimized in order to index for keywords on Amazon, which is great when you're launching a product, but not when you're trying to actually sell the product. Key point there. Okay. So I'll circle back around to that one. So you're going to want to be able to differentiate your product to stand out from the competition so that shoppers see your product. They click to your product listing so that you get sessions, and then they actually make a determination based off of the content you're putting into your product listing that, yes, in fact, this is the product for me, because you've actually used the language that they want to hear that says, this solves your needs. I want, what you want that shopper to be doing is going through your product detail page going, yes, I want that. I want that. I want that. I want that. Just, it makes sense. Add to cart, purchase, done. Conversion rate increases. Okay. So then let's talk about more as far as the core of this training then, and that is that consumers, the background on this is the consumers have likes and dislikes, right? You have likes and dislikes about the products that you have purchased. Sometimes you haven't found the product that exactly meets what you're looking for, and so you take the next best thing. Sometimes, well, I can guarantee you is that you go into any product niche, and most products, most product niches, the brands that are selling there fail to demonstrate what it is that their product actually does for the shopper, right? They don't answer the what's in it for me, right? And so you need to go out and look for it. You need to go out and have that discussion and listen to your target audience. So does that mean that the products that are in your product niche, that none of them solve the problem? No, it means that the listing, your competitor's listing simply doesn't acknowledge or illustrate to your target audience which problems it actually solves. It does a poor job of that. I'll get into more detail on this, trust me on this. So what I want you to do is to listen to your target audience, okay? Listen to their feedback, listen to their comments, listen to, take a look at their reviews on Amazon, and listen to their conversations on social media so that you can identify what their dislikes are, what their pain is, and what their frustrations are so that you can solve those in your product listing, okay? Hopefully I'm not going too fast. Put your hand up if I'm going too fast and you want me to slow down a little bit, but otherwise I'm going to keep the pace up here. What I want you to do, I want you to be in a powerful position to be able to exploit your competitor's weakness where they failed miserably, as I show on the slide, to illustrate the solution of what their product actually offers or what it solves to the target audience, something that you can do. And if you're the only one doing it, you're going to have a serious competitive advantage. Okay. I've seen it. I've done it again and again. It's too many times to even count now. This is going to give you a chance to change your product listing so that you can adapt to talking to the audience rather than talking to the search engine. Stop trying to emulate your competitors, which a lot of you do more than you think you do. I'll show you how that's done. So show of hands really quick. Since the chat's not working, show of hands. How many of you are following along and want me to continue? It's that raise hand button. Okay, nice. Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's keep it moving here. All right, so the first thing, we're going to talk about three main strategies here, main tactics, okay? So the first one's going to be listening to your target audience, okay? What does that mean? So we first want to listen to the common words and the sentiment, in other words, positive, negative, positive, critical, depending on where you're looking, used in, first of all, on Amazon in your own product reviews, as well as your competitors' product reviews. Okay, so there are things, there's certain terminology that comes up if you're looking at your reviews on Amazon. I don't know how many of you have actually gone through and reviewed and actually read all of the reviews for your product, let alone your competitors' products. But I can guarantee you is that your clientele, your target audience is telling you what it is that they like and they dislike, what they love, what they hate. Okay. You need to identify that so that you can adapt your product listing to speak to that, right? To address the pain, to solve their needs. Okay. Now I realize that for some of you, and this actually happened at a conference that I was speaking at in Miami last summer. And I was speaking to this very issue of going through, and they said, well, that's not going to work for us because we have 150,000 reviews and each of our competitors have 30, 40, 50,000 reviews each. And I said, well, have you read all of those? And they're like, of course not. I'm like, okay, then you won't have a competitive advantage if you don't understand your target audience. It's like, well, clearly we're selling. It's like, yeah, but you could be doing a lot better. So here's what I'm recommending. So there's review analysis software that's available. Now, if you already have Helium 10, Helium 10 has a Chrome extension that allows you to look at reviews. And it'll put them in a sequence, and you can look at just the critical ones, and that'll kind of speed up your process of looking at what are the negative reviews and what are some of the words. You may want to hire a VA in order to do this. For instance, hire the student that's out of school right now, right, going back in August. Frankly, I don't use Helium 10's review Chrome extension. Okay. It is inferior to what my needs are. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of things that I love about Helium 10. This is not one of them, right? So I had to go out and find another one. And I actually came across reviewmonitoring.com. They've now renamed to reviews.ai because they do use a combination of machine learning as well as their own algorithms in order to go through and mine reviews. Now, this only works, unfortunately, this only works for Amazon reviews. Okay. They're across multiple marketplaces, but it does only work for Amazon reviews. It doesn't work for social media. That's a different process. Now, in this example, here's just one example of kind of, I forget now exactly what they call this kind of chart. It's like a stream or a spider or something like that. I forget now. I want to say stream, but what this is it identifies, okay, show me the ones in red. Okay. Show me the most common words and phrases that come up in critical reviews, 1 star, 2 star, maybe 3 star. Okay. And so what I'm looking for is what seems to be coming up a lot. What is coming up. And I look at my own product as well as my competitors' products. And I use a tool like reviews.ai in order to mine those for me, put it into a nice little word cloud kind of package for me that I can drill down into if I want, because maybe what the common words that come up is lay or uncomfortable, right? Now, in this case here, this has to do with I believe it's a pillow in this case, or like a neck pillow, I believe. And so what this does is you can now drill down in and see the more specific comments that are tied into the words that occur inside of critical reviews. You can do the same thing for positive reviews, right? For praised reviews, you can see what the positives are, and you can accentuate what you see when people point out multiple times. This is a cool thing. Make sure you're pointing that out so the rest of your target audience who haven't bought yet gets to see the same thing. You're pointing out to them what is, a common feature, a common benefit to them that people have liked in the past, right? At the same time, you want to try to identify where your competitors' products have a number of negative words that you can drill down into and find out why is it that they're getting the people continue to use these negative words in their negative reviews. In this case here, hard and uncomfortable. This product is hard as a rock when you lay on it, your neck on it. You can address those issues. Even if your product has the same problem, you need to figure out how to spin it, right? Hard as a rock provides firm comfort for proper neck support. These kinds of things. I mean, I created that on the fly. My point is, don't ignore it. Address it as a feature, as a benefit, as this is what you're supposed to have. It's supposed to be like that, so that you'll get less of those reviews because the people buying the product are expecting it. They're not surprised by it. You don't want to surprise your target audience, okay? Second is you're going to listen to the common words and sentiment used in social media threads. Okay, this one's a little bit more difficult, right? But you can do it. There are tools like Brand24 and Medium. I honestly, I want to build my own system that does this a better job. It does a better job of this, but I haven't yet. I'll let you know if I do. But this is thread analysis. Like in this case, thread analysis software like Brand24 or Medium. This is the same thing as if you were to go into an Instagram account or Pinterest, or watch people's responses on any social media channel talking about different products. Now, they may not always be using the terminology of a specific product. They are more likely to be talking about trying to solve a problem, not finding a solution. They may not even mention specific product names, but your audience is speaking in a way that you should be listening to, because they're talking about, maybe it's kayak enthusiasts. Maybe you sell a hanging rack for kayaks for the garage. Just kind of throwing something out here. And you have, and I would also recommend, because at the end, somebody try, is the Q&A, is there a Q&A on this? No, I turned off Q&A. Darn it. Okay, so there's no chat, no Q&A. All right, I'll have to fix that for next time. But what I was hoping to do is be able to go through maybe a couple of your own niches. But you can go through on social media and you can listen to the conversation. People may be talking about, hey, I went out, took my kayaks with my family, and we went out to this place, whatever. And it was kind of difficult to get it in and out of the, get the product, get the kayak in and out of the trucks. I need to come up with a better solution. Or, hey, I tried this new decal paint for the side of my kayaks for the registration numbers, whatever the case is, right? And you can listen to what people are saying in general, as far as their complaints and their praises, what they enjoy about kayaking. You can use that kind of terminology in your own product listing to reinforce that they do enjoy that activity, that they would enjoy your product, and it's going to make their life a lot easier, because maybe they've got other products out there or other solutions that they haven't solved or they're frustrated with, but yours doesn't create that situation. Yours doesn't cause a problem, right? And you're putting that in words into your product listing that they can go like, cool, this is going to just make my life easier. It also, by the way, of course, should be easy to figure out, is it'll give you new ideas as far as what listening into your target audience. Now, I understand. Truly, I do, because I've spent hours and days listening to different audiences on social media that are talking about the activities, not talking about my specific product, right? It's never going to be that direct, right? And you can't simply just say, hey, is anybody using a hanger or rack for their garage for a kayak? Which one do you recommend, or what's the pros and cons? Nobody's going to answer you on that, right? They're going to be talking about just having a conversation like they're around a campfire, and they're going to be talking about their trips and different things. You can still listen into those. You really can. If that means that you need to hire somebody who is a social media manager or a VA or a student who's doesn't want to work down at McDonald's, but wants to do get some extra money during the summer, cool. They love social media. They'll spend all day long, especially the younger generation. They'll spend all day long on social media. Let them. Pay them to do that if you can. Okay, have them go through and find out what are the positive comments, what are the negative comments, what's the general vibe, what's the general sentiment that people are saying within these my target audience that I would eventually sell my product to. And then, of course, what you're going to do is you're going to compare both the grumblings and the praises between your product and your competitors' products. I hate to use the word, well, I'm not going to hate to use the word. Exploit the advantages that your product has, minimize the weaknesses that your product has in your content. Address the complaints about your product head on and try to spin it in a way, don't lie, but try to spin it in a way that demonstrates that you understand that there's a reason that you have the product do this, bend this way, or has a certain texture to it, or flavor to it, or whatever the case is. Address that. Okay, address it in a way that makes it a moot point, or is actually potentially even a benefit. Give that a shot. Try that. So this is kind of redundant a little bit to what I was just saying, but does your competitor products have features that solve consumer pains? If they do, point out those pain-solving features as benefits. Do they, right? In other words, you're looking to see, do they fail miserably at pointing out the benefits that they already have to their target audience, or did they simply just copy and paste the specifications and the description they got from some Chinese manufacturer, right? More importantly, what does yours do? Are you making the same mistake, or is there an opportunity for you to exploit that and put that into your product listing? Enhance your product listings. You're speaking to what's in it for me. What are the benefits of my product, my features to you, Mr. Consumer, Miss Consumer, right? Here's a pro tip that I usually only give in coaching sessions, okay, or that I have within my own team over at Canopy Management. Go back to your manufacturer of your product. Ask them 2 questions. What's the most expensive step in the manufacturing process for the product that I have? What's the most time consuming? In both of those, it can be very eye-opening because you may discover a reason or a cause or a quality or some aspect of your product that applies to both you and your competitors that you didn't realize takes more care, is more expensive, has a more expensive ingredient, or it takes longer for the paint to cure, or whatever the case is. You can spend those because most of I would guarantee that your competition haven't asked that question. But if you do, you're gonna learn something new about the manufacturing process and what is most expensive, what's most time consuming about your product and likely your competitors' products that you can then use to your advantage to point out to consumers. Not as in, hey, I spent more money on this extra feature. I'm saying there's things that are more expensive, more time consuming that you didn't even know that existed, that you didn't pay more for. But were part of the manufacturing process that you can then say, look, it took longer in order to cure the paint. So because what that feature is, or that benefit is to a consumer, is maybe, let's go back to the kayak example. Maybe there's some blue coloring in the plastic molding for a kayak. I don't know why I'm stuck on kayaks all of a sudden, but think about the sun, the hot summer sun beating down on that plastic is going to fade most coloring, unless it was baked longer so that the color stays fixed longer, even in the hot sun. That suddenly may become a feature or a benefit that you didn't even point out, but the manufacturer has always done that because somebody in their first year complained that, hey, it faded too quickly in the sun. Take advantage of that, okay? All right, show of hands, who's keeping up so far? Who's ready for part 2 of this? Nice, awesome, thank you. All right, I'm gonna drink water here. All right, so as I had mentioned earlier, of course, let me go ahead and plug my agency really quick here. Canopy Management, which is my advertising and marketing agency for Amazon brands. We tend to help double and triple brands on Amazon that have reached a certain level. They've been doing it at least a year. Maybe they've got a few products. Maybe they're ready to scale up. That is our superpower. Our superpowers come with Amazon PPC advertising, Amazon DSP advertising, and of course, the product listing optimization. A lot of what I'm about to talk about here, we do phenomenally well. So I definitely recommend that you go out to canopymanagement.com and put an inquiry. We're not the hard sell type. We will say, like, look, we can help you or we can't help you. This is how we can help you. Here's our recommendations. If that works for you, awesome. We get to work together. Okay. So part 2 on this is to grab their attention to the product, grab the shopper's attention to your product listing. How do we do that? We want to, now I teach, like I mentioned early on, I teach I've got a whole video. I don't sell a course or anything for this. It's a video that I do. It's something that our own team follows this process as well. And it's the product search and rescue method, right? So this is, in other words, rescuing viewers to make sure that they see your product. So I'm not going to go into detail on this because it's the whole, that product search and rescue is a whole webinar all by itself that I highly recommend you go through. But here's the short version of this, okay? You want to stand out in order to catch the attention, the eye of the shopper. The shoppers have been trained through social media, through mobile devices, in order to just thumb scroll past product listings on Amazon and social media and videos and TikTok and all this kind of stuff, right? Understand that that's the case, and therefore their attention span is only a split second. It's what's shiny that catches their eye. That's going to be your main image. What is going to hook their attention in Amazon case, on the mobile app or on a desktop even, it's going to be that title, and it's going to be the first 75 to 80 characters of the title, in fact, because that's usually all that ever shows up in the search results, both on mobile and desktop. So you got to make sure that whatever is the most important critical hook to grab that shopper and pull them into your product listing is going to be in the first 75 characters. You can still do a full title, but make sure that you're giving that pop right up front. Okay. I'm not saying leading within the first 3 words. I'm just saying, like, make sure it's visible in that title. Okay. Double check it. What we're going to do is we're going to identify the patterns and the opportunities in search results. This is going to be the main image. This is going to be the title. Okay. Those are the first 2. Then what we're going to do is going to make sure that your main image, you're going to want to split test this. I'm not talking about PickFu or some other thing that is an opinion poll about what image looks better. Doesn't matter. Okay. Those are popularity contests. Those are not split testing. Okay. To be very clear on that, those are not split testing. The only one that you can do is native round robin A/B split testing through Amazon experiments, okay, or manage your experiments in Seller Central. What this allows you to do is to compare 2 different images or test 2 different images alternately. Image 1, which is your current main image that you have, shows to the first visitor, the first person who searches for your target search terms. Image number 2 is going to show up for the second person. Image number 1 for the third person, image number 2 for the fourth person. You get the idea. It just alternates back and forth. You run that for 4 weeks, and then you look to see what's the difference that I got in sessions, in click-through rate, in conversion rate. Ultimately, conversion rate is what's going to have the biggest impact on increasing your profitability, because it's going to reduce things like your advertising costs. Huge benefit in increasing your conversion rate, even an incremental amount, which is exactly what the managed experiments or the Amazon A/B split testing is going to allow you to do. This is primarily going to be on your main image, and your title are the two big tests that you want to run through Amazon experiments. You can also run A+ content, but that's down the road, right? My expectation, my recommendation to you, something we do, is we run 4-week experiments, and then we roll it back into another 4-week experiment, and then another, and then another, and another. This is not a one-shot solve, magic happens in one instance. This is getting accumulation of incremental increases in conversion rate for your product's conversion rate, and therefore you're going to increase your visibility, your sales velocity, your keyword ranking, and your profitability. And hopefully you already know what that means to you. The third thing is we're going to hook their interest in the title. Okay, so let me show you how we go about doing that. First and foremost is we want to identify the common pattern. Okay, take your top search terms, right? Search on Amazon and see what comes back. Scan the search results just like you're a shopper looking for your product. Scan the search results of your top target search terms and observe what are some of the common patterns that you see in the main image and in the title and things like badges. Don't worry about price. Don't worry about reviews. Okay, those are secondary. In the main image, you're looking for things where what caught your eye first? Did color catch your eye? Did your eye naturally just gravitate suddenly to the third product? Why? Think about that. Pause for a second and decide and determine, why did I immediately glance down to the third product? What was it about that image that caught my attention? That's what you're trying to replicate in this. That is how you're going to grab your shopper's attention, which is your first priority in your product listing, is to even get seen in the first place by a shopper. If you don't get seen, you don't get clicked, you don't get converted. Okay. So getting seen is the main image's primary job. And sometimes that just needs to be the shiny metal object in the search results. Now, that can mean that it can be a color difference. Here's an example on this. If everybody has the same color, is there a way that you can add in a color splash or a different color? I'm not talking about introducing a new product that has, like, everybody sells a black product and that sells the most. I'm going to introduce a red product, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about adding a splash. I'll give you some examples, or I'll give you a couple examples here shortly of what I mean by that kind of that color splash. There's also things as far as what direction. If everybody has a product that's pointing to the left, try pointing yours to the right, right? Be different. Take the road less traveled. Shape. If everybody is stacking up their products and their accessories into a box, maybe try yours in an arch or some kind of an angled look or something that goes into the background. That's what we call depth, right? Where you get that three-dimensionality. And I'm not talking about a common mistake that I see is, oh, I've got my product. Mine's three-dimensional because I've got my product and then I've got another product right behind it that's touching it. And then the touching it right behind it is the box in the back. That is not depth. Depth is actually putting in physical space. When you take that photograph, putting in a physical distance, physical space between the first and the second layer of products, or the second and third layer of products. Sometimes you're going to have to split test this to say, okay, what happens if I put in a 2-inch gap? What happens if I put in a 6-inch gap? What if I've got to sell a pair of shoes and the first shoe is right up front and the second shoe is a foot behind it? Okay. It's like off in the background, but it creates depth that catches the eye of the human eye. Okay, it's what you want. Clutter is another big one. I'll actually show you an example of clutter because it's very common for Amazon, for brands to make a mistake of trying to push the value of everything that they're selling, all the accessories. They try to push it into the main image. That's a huge mistake, by the way. Observe common words in the title. Industry terminology, abbreviations, acronyms, that's kind of redundant there, right? Common words that are being used again and again by most of your competitors in the title, in the first 75 characters. You're going to want to test to break away from that. Now, you may want to conform to a very specific, like 3-word search term that you're trying to rank for. Right? And you have the ability to rank for it. Okay. You've got the sales velocity for that term that you know that you can actually rank for it. So you want to keep that in your title, right? It doesn't mean you word stuff it with a bunch of generic terms like, oh, this product is for men, women, children, boys, girls, teens, grandparents, whatever, right? Just garbage words that you think is going to broadcast out to a bigger audience, right? That is a huge mistake. Your real estate is very valuable in your main image and in your title. And in the title, we want to look to see, okay, if this acronym, as an example, is confusing to anybody outside of myself and the manufacturer, because I have been talking to the manufacturer when I was bringing this product to market. I've been talking to them for the last 6 months, the last 12 months. I know what that means. I know what that acronym refers to. I know what 301 stainless steel does for my consumer, for my target audience, but they don't. So simply just stating that 301 stainless steel or has an FJ2 certification, they don't know and they don't care. Okay. There's a common one that's used that's fire retardant, fireproof, and there's some acronym, and I forget now exactly what the acronym name is. It's like KV2 or something like that, right? And everybody's using it in the product listings in that niche. And they're saying it's like, oh, it's KV2 certified. Nobody knows what the heck that means. But you know what? That one listing that says that it's fire retardant or fire resistant or fireproof, that consumer looks at that and instantly knows what that means and they want it. That's what you're going for. Okay. Finally, when it comes to things like badges and discounts, deals, sale price, coupons, this thing, I'm not going to go into depth on this one too much because I do in my other webinar. Things like coupons as an example. If nobody's using a coupon, use a coupon because it has that green badge. If everybody's using a $1 or a 5%, if they're coming in just a minimum, then you've got to go more aggressive. You got to come in with a $5 or a 20% kind of, you got to make a jump that separates you from the rest of the competitive products. Not so much from an eye catch as far as that bright green box catching the eye of the shopper, but if a shopper does see your coupon code as an example, then they'll remember it as they continue to scroll down. They'll come back and go like, you know, there was one that had a big discount on it. Let me go take a second look at that. Now they're looking at your product potentially twice, okay? There's a lot of hacks when it comes to badges and discounts and coupons and all that kind of stuff. I wish I had the time to go into those right now. So you're going to turn this research into competitive advantages, as I've kind of pounded into this, right? For your product to stand apart and grab the attention of the shoppers. The example I was going to give regarding clutter, okay? Here's an example on the left where you have very minimal depth. A lot of the products are pushed right up against each other, maybe, you know, just a little bit, but they're a little too close. But there's a whole lot of clutter. They try to put all this stuff into the main image and say, look at all the value you've gotten, and it does not look very clean. It looks cluttered. The image on the right is somebody who has a similar number of pieces, but they put them in, they tested different images to finally come along something that was cleaner. It looked more professional. It actually created more white space, which is actually what it turned out to be, was what made the difference of shoppers catching their eye, because when everybody's got clutter and the image is just maxed capacity with a bunch of different product, the white space stands out as if it was a big splash of red. Now you can see also on this first image, they made a pretty weak attempt at putting in a splash of red by having a couple of small red apples. Too little, not enough, right? It's not enough to catch it, especially if you shrink it down to a mobile device. Strongly consider you look at both your desktop as well as the mobile app in order to see which colors and which images actually catch your eye first. Take note in your niche, which product main images actually catch your eye first. Not simply like, oh, the first one, then the second one, the third one. It's like, no, your eye naturally gravitates. Like, recognize when that happens and take a look and determine, why did it catch your eye? Was it something out of place? Was it a splash of color? Was it something that was shiny? Was it a product that doesn't even belong in this niche? It was, you know, these are all things that you want to learn and take note of so that you can stand out from your competition. So you can test some of those differences so that you catch the eye of the shopper. Okay. On the split testing, of course, like I said, you can split test different main images, do 4-week Amazon experiment split tests on different main images. Then, you know, do that for a while until you've, you know, maybe you got a 0.5% increase in the conversion rate the first month, and the second month you got a 2% increase, which is a huge amount, but those accumulate over time. Think about if you did that back to back for a year and you increase your conversion rate 5-10%, maybe even more. How big of a difference would that make in your sales velocity, your total sales, and your keyword ranking, and certainly your profitability when it came to ads? Please do this. Back-to-back 4-week Amazon experiments, split testing. It is well worth it. You set it up, you let it run for 4 weeks, and then you move on to another test once you look at the results, okay? I already mentioned, as far as like replace industry terminology, maybe with funny words or odd synonyms for the words that are commonly used by your competitors. Give give something for people to just kind of go, oh, that's kind of out of place, or oh, that's kind of funny, or they used a funny word there. You can get pretty creative when it comes to those. Again, you can split test your title of different images. If you're absolutely fixed and you're like, I'm not changing my main image, cool. Work on split testing your title. It's not going to affect your ranking or your sales when you run it through Amazon experiments. Okay. I already talked about, as far as like, testing substantial coupons, certainly lightning deals. August 5th, by the way, this is for Prime Day, fall of 2022. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. My prediction for the fall 2022 Prime Day is going to be October 17 and October 18th. Here's why. The deadline has been communicated to us in our Seller Central account under advertising and deals. You'll see, assuming you've got brand registry, you've got access to this kind of thing, is you can submit your deals up to August 5th, I think it is August 5th or August 6th, 2022. Usually for Prime Day, it's usually a 10-week advanced deadline. So 10 weeks past October or past August 5th puts it at about October 12th, I think it is. So the following week is when I predict October 17 and 18 is when I expect to be the fall 2022 Amazon Prime Day. So hopefully put your hand up if that, raise your hand if you get any value out of that prediction. All right, quick water here. So quick cover before we get into the third and final part of this. Okay. How we doing on time? Well, we're over, but we also had delay of start. So far you've identified how to identify consumer sentiment, right? Through product reviews, through social media discussions, right? You know how to, it's just a case of whether or not you're willing to take the effort in order to do something to your competitors or not, so that you have a competitive advantage this year. Next thing is identifying the patterns in the search results for your niche. So you can identify if those are the patterns, I want to break the patterns and I want to come in and I want to change my main image. I want to test new images for my main image, split test, existing one versus a new one. And I want to do the same thing with my title. Okay. And I want to test different things as far as to stand out, different images, different elements of the main image, different words used in the title in order to break away, to stand out from the competition. And again, in order to catch the eye of the shopper. And then the words in the title is usually to hook the interest of the shopper with some kind of a benefit or a feature that makes your product look unique compared to your competitors. And we already discussed some of the methods as far as how to break away from your competitors, how to point out features and benefits that you didn't know you had, that certainly your competitors are not pointing out, right? Now, the third and final part of this is you want to be able to close the sale in your Amazon product detail page, your product listing, by answering the key question they all ask. Now, normally I would pull up chat and say, okay, tell me what you think is that key question, but I'm just going to give it to you. What's in it for me? What we call WIFM. Okay. What's in it for me? What's the benefit for me? If I'm a consumer and I'm looking at a list of product listings, what is your product going to do that allows that convinces me I should take a closer look at your product, a feature, a benefit, something unique about your product that is going to compel me to pay $5, $10, $20 more than what the rest of the market is. And that is what you're going to be able to do. When you point out the differences, what I just talked about, pointing out the features and the benefits of your product that stand out from the competition because your competition failed to point out the things that are commonly a feature or benefit, especially a benefit, you're going to have the ability, because of increased conversion rate, because of increased visibility, catching shopper's eyes, you're going to have the ability to start testing, increasing your price point. Increased price point increases your net margin, combined with your increased conversion rate of your product is going to increase your profitability substantially in the next year, if and only if you take action and put in what I've been teaching today. Okay. So turn that extensive research that we talked about into listening to the target audience and identifying the patterns in your product niche into solutions, features, benefits, again, that are unstated by the competitors that you can put into your own product listing. And I'm talking about, we've already talked about the main image. We've already talked about the title. Now, what I recommend that you do, this is my 5-second rule, and I apply this to all secondary images of a product listing. I also apply it to all bullet points in that product listing. You can do it with your A+ content as well. I'd recommend that as well. And that is, you lead right up front in anything that's text, bullet points or A+. Lead with a 3 to 5 word benefit, starting with your most compelling benefit. And then the second one is your second most compelling benefit, right? Makes sense. And then add on additional text. You can do a full, a full bullet point, a full paragraph, whatever the case is, that talks about the feature or features that support that benefit. Okay, that directly feed into that benefit, because you want that shopper immediately seen in the first 5 seconds of looking at anything, whether it's a secondary image or it's a bullet point or it's an A+ piece of content. Within 5 seconds, they understand what's in it for me, and they immediately go, I want that. Can you imagine what your product listing is going to look like in order to increase that type of engagement and that kind of desire by your target audience? You have that ability. And I know this because I look at product niches every single day of the week, and I see how badly it is done by even brands that have been doing this for a while and should know better. And they're simply just too lazy in order to put in best practices for 2022. Okay. So apply that 5 second, it's a 5 second rule test. What's in it for me? You're answering 3 to 5 words, or with a graphical image, if it's a secondary image, what's in it for me? Do I understand the benefit within 5 seconds of what's in it for me? Okay. That's going to make me want to go, I want that. Okay. Especially when it comes to your secondary product images, right? I'm already going to assume that you're using all the images you can, and that you've got 3 videos on your product listing. If you don't, put it on your list of things you got to get done this year. In the secondary product images, less text is more succinct, which means they understand what you're trying to tell them faster. Use simple graphics, use simple images. That can include lifestyle images in combination with, like, hey, here's a graphic representation of the benefit that you're getting. Keep it to a maximum of 3 points per image. Don't go in there and say, oh, I've got my circle, my ring of features, ring of benefits, and there's 13 different features that are listed on this one image. If you currently have that, it's going to fail, right? There's no way a consumer is going to be able to understand quickly what all those are. And it's very rare that you're going to have a consumer that's going to take the time to read through an image full of text that is pointing out each and every feature or benefit that you're trying to come across. Keep it simple. Add in the rest of them into your bullet points, into your A+ content. Doesn't have to all go into your main images. Put it in your videos, for instance, okay? Your bullet points, like I said, lead with a short 3 to 5 word benefit that just people like, I want that. I want that benefit for me. I want that. I know what's in it for me. And then support that with I recommend a short feature, but you can use the rest if you want to try to do some SEO and some keyword stuffing and that kind of stuff. Cool. But just make sure that you are starting with a benefit and then supporting it with some kind of feature. And then whatever space is remaining, go to town. Okay. This is how you're going to turn your zero product, or your product that you know can do better, or your next product that you're launching, into a hero product that has high visibility, grabs the attention of a shopper, right? Increases the likelihood that they're going to click through out of curiosity to learn more about your product listing and its unique benefits or unique features that you're just now pointing out. And that's going to be the engagement, right? And then, of course, your conversion rate, where they quickly understand in all the content, bullet points, secondary images, videos, A+ content, what's in it for me, so they can go, yes, 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 I want that. Okay. That's the end of this presentation. I know that was a lot. Now, let me go ahead and give a final kind of pitch over for Canopy Management, because they're the ones who make this happen. If you are in a position where you want to have a discussion with our agency, where you're growing your brand and your product lines, I highly, highly recommend. Our track record is phenomenal in the industry. And so I highly recommend that you have a conversation with our team over at canopymanagement.com/strategy-call. Again, I'd put it into chat, but if we don't have chat, then there you go. So, let's see here. I don't know that I can even. Oh, yes. Okay, here we go. So here's what I'm going to do. So, and here's some of the benefits, of course, of what you would actually get out of the conversation. This is actually probably an important thing. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to open this up. If you want to raise your hand, I will turn on the allow to talk button and allow you to ask your next question so that I can make sure that you get it answered. So I'm going to allow you. So if you raise your hand right now, I'm going to click the allow to talk and allow your microphone to, yeah. All right, Marco. Cool. Appreciate it. All right. Who else we got? Okay. DLM. And I'm going to have you, and when I actually, I'm going to say, okay, Marco or DLM, if you want to like, just kind of state what your name is, because DLM doesn't help me much. Right. All right. So Marco, I'm going to start with you. All right, Marco, you are currently muted. There you go. How can I help you today?
What would you consider like a set in stone product that's like set for, a very long time, like to be organically good to go for like a product? Like for example, if a product has like 100 reviews, 500 reviews, what that 1,000 reviews, like what is like the best number of reviews?
You're asking as far as like how many reviews relative to your competition?
I mean,
Usually,
just for like the Amazon market in general.
Mhm. So
Like,
here's kind of the way, as far as the way social proof works on Amazon, the Amazon consumers, especially Prime members, which are a lot,
yes.
they primarily trust the platform in order to give them the ability to have trusted products that are going to show up and be the product that they want, that they can get it quickly, right? Instant gratification, and that they have some kind of recourse that they can return it if they don't like the product. That is huge compared to most other marketplaces, especially like Facebook is horrific as far as that goes. So there's a lot of reasons for that. However, shoppers they don't want to be the first one to have bought a product and to have the bad experience, right? They want to trust that somebody else has bought the product for them. That's a very subjective number because simply just don't want to be the first. Usually the general rule of thumb that we recommend is that you get 5 to 10 reviews for your product before you go really heavy on things like advertising promotion. But usually you want to try to build up to that pretty quickly. If you are brand registered, you can pay for Vine reviews, which are Amazon's own curated product purchases and reviews. Sometimes, depending on the product niche that you're in, that can go quickly, or it can take 2 or 3 months to occur. So you don't want to rely on it. As I mentioned earlier, do not be a part of any kind of a pooled product purchase and review group, nor ask somebody else to purchase it for the purpose of a product, to any kind of incentive in order to leave a review. That's the tough part, because what that means is like, well, how am I supposed to get reviews if I can't sell my product, and I can't sell my product until I have reviews, right? That's the trap. Usually what that means is definitely start out with Vine. If you're brand registered and you've got access to Vine, then you definitely want to get that kicked off so that you can start getting those coming in. Ultimately, you're going to want to try to find people that can purchase the product. Maybe you usually recommend something like social media. You don't necessarily, you can provide a discount, but you are not asking for a review. You're just hoping that if you give away 20 products, or if you discount 20 products, that you'll get a few reviews just as a byproduct of giving those products out, or discounting those products. So kind of back to your question though, is the number of products that you want to get to usually has to do with how long you've been selling and the sales velocity that you have. If you are going to a niche where your competitors have at least 500 reviews, maybe they've got thousands or tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of reviews, those are the 800-pound gorillas that you don't want to go head to head with. You want to try to carve out your own niche on a much more descriptive long tail keyword, long tail search term that is a lot more, that's smaller in search volume, that is a lot more narrow as far as your target audience, but that you could ultimately position yourself on the Amazon search results as a product that shows up in the first couple of pages. Okay. But ultimately, the reviews is The hardest is going to be your first 2 or 3 reviews, because sales velocity and conversion rates are going to be pretty poor until you at least get a handful of reviews and get past that initial bump of, I don't want to be the first one to buy this product because what if it sucks? Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully-
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that helped. All right. DLM, if you want to introduce yourself, and then how can I help you?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, I've had some issues with my microphone. The name is Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Hi. So we have a organic Whole Foods company on Amazon. I think we're at 10 years now.
Okay. Very well.
And thanks. It feels like we're kind of running in place a little bit.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But my question to you is that, we did try to optimize our keywords and our listings, and we did see some growth from that. But recently, one of our products, we had lowers blood sugar, and I think Amazon has changed their rules, and they've nailed us and suspended the listing, saying that we're making claims about diabetes. And I just was wondering if your company has had any experience, with food listings, even more so now. It's a very narrow window of what you can say. I mean, because the pain point is health problems, really,
Right.
when you're selling these organic whole foods. But Amazon seems to be getting more restrictive about what they'll let you say about that.
That is true. Yeah. No, I can guarantee you that Canopy definitely is. We do have clients that are in that space. In fact, I happen to know somebody. I happen to know that we do have a client currently that is probably one of your competitors, most likely. And so we have to have that discussion as far as whether or not we could support you or not. But that's an ongoing, they've been ever since. I mean, you've been doing this for 10 years, or the company's been doing it for 10 years. You know that this is something that's constantly evolving, because like the FDA and SEC, these are government organizations that put a whole lot of power and pressure onto Amazon in order to conform to their rules. And so Amazon has gotten better over the past year and a half, 2 years, as far as putting in teams to enforce and police these kinds of policies. Are they consistent? No, because as soon as they burn your listing because you didn't conform, you got 3 of your competitors who are still getting away with it. Kind of the nature of this kind of a platform. But that said, is that even if you're going to have, you can still run advertising. So you can still run search term advertising where people are using those search terms in order to find products that fit that particular pain point. But a lot of times we've seen this in products that are in a worse spot than yours, like CBD kind of markets, that are probably in a worse spot than what you're dealing with, and yet they're still able to sell. They just can't simply just come right up front and say, "Hey, we solved this problem." There are ways that you can get approvals. There are ways where you can make statements that says this is who verified this claim or this statement, if that exists. Otherwise, sometimes you're going to have to bury it or use some terminology that is not as blatantly violating of their word, their negative word list, if you will. We certainly see where brands have products that can no longer run ads because they have content listing violations. We see that pretty much every other week. Somebody gets some kind of a content listing violation. It's not because of somebody being aggressive, it's because they've been using a word for the last 5 years, and now all of a sudden Amazon doesn't like it, which I'm sure is what you can probably relate to here.
Yes,
And so you
exactly.
can adapt to that. That becomes part of split testing and seeing split testing, I think, would probably be your biggest advantage here, because you actually can continue to test different words that are maybe alternatives to the more traditional words that you're looking for. The product will still come up if somebody searches for the terms that are no longer allowed, because you probably have that in your, sometimes you can get away with having it as far as your A+, the alt keywords in your images. Sometimes you can have it in your backend search terms, or simply just because of the category or the browser that the product is assigned to, Amazon will consider that product relevant to search terms that you're not allowed to even put in your listing. So I would say that it's more of an effort, as much as I'd like to say like, oh, just go do this. It really, I think that split testing or simply just testing alternative words, where you're essentially hinting at the solution without actually blatantly stating that it's a solution. That's that's probably going to be your best bet. That's where we've seen the most success, is trying to get as close as we can without getting caught on fire.
Yeah, that's the game with Amazon, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask in a follow-up to this, speaking of pain points? I've been chasing Amazon since the 29th of June about this, and I went over the whole listing with one of their account health people, and she said, I don't see anything in your listing that's a problem. Just put in I can't remember what it's called, and it should go live again. So I've been trying to get a hold of them since then, and now they've suspended it, and they're just not responding, and they're going to ship 250 units back to me on the 5th of August. Do you have any tips on how to break that wall of getting through to them before because the listing's been closed and we're losing tons of money?
Yeah. So if it's gone, I think it's, was it 60 days, I believe, since the time that it was suspended, then they're automatically going to ship back. You want to make sure that that actually has a ship back address, not a destroy selection, by the way.
It does.
Because I guarantee you, on one of my own products, I actually had that mistake where I had set a return. This is kind of a side note, right? Where I had a product that I know for a fact that I had a return ship address, and they destroyed 150 units, and they say, oh, you didn't have it specified. And I go in there, and sure enough, there was no address specified. I'm like going, I know for sure, because I double checked it, that it was in there. So that's part of the problem, is that, okay, they're going to have bugs in their system. So, checking and double checking and triple checking is usually a good thing to do. We do have different contacts within Amazon. I think the fact that you talk to the health team is probably going to be one of your best bets. But because of the siloed nature of Amazon, it's not uncommon for them to say, like, I can't help you in that area. I can guide you. I don't see anything, but somebody else is actually controlling that. Performance team is controlling that, for instance, and we can't have a conversation with performance team directly. And so there's different ways that you can try to press for that conversation by being, we'll say, more aggressive or persistent with account health team, and try to get them on your side and try to get somebody who's willing to help push this a little bit. Most likely, I know for myself, I've gotten pretty good as far as identifying which words, or usually several words in a product listing, that have the highest likelihood of being deemed as violating. The fact that it's been suspended for content violation.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, you'd have to go in and cut down the content to try to eliminate anything that might even come close to making any kind of a claim whatsoever, or using certain terminology. Like a common one that most people don't realize is boost or booster or boosts, these kind of thing, right? Where that one got banned across the system because it was abused by people who were selling testosterone supplements, for instance. And so these kind of things, like myself and my agency, we've gotten used to, we've have a much wider view. And so we've seen a lot more examples, and we can usually look at a listing and say, I'm not saying that you have to work directly with, our agency, but it's something I can probably take a look at if I can actually see the listing. If it's pulled completely, I'm not going to see it publicly, but maybe you could share that with me privately, and I can probably identify what words are most likely catching. You remove those words, and then you go back and you appeal and say, okay, I've fixed the problem. Can you reinstate my listing? And at which point,
thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much time in case other people have questions, but I really appreciate your help.
You're actually the last one with questions. Otherwise, I'm going to close it out. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Great. Well, you're so knowledgeable. I could just talk to you for another hour, but I'll,
Well, I mean, it's here's what I'll tell you. Here's what I'll offer you. So, you can see on the screen here, canopymanagement.com is our domain. I'm at Brian. My email is Brian
Mhm.
at canopymanagement.com. So BRIAN. If you want to email directly and say, hey, you know what, can I get another 10, 20, 30 minutes of your time and we can go through this just so that you can like try to survive this particular moment. And I can help you. Cool. Glad to do it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
No, I understand the pain because trust me, I've gone through this way too many times, including my own products, and I know how frustrating it can be. And usually it's just trying to get somebody to actually listen to what you've asked or told them through seller support is a
Yep.
game all by itself.
Yeah, and the thing is, every time I talk to them, they're like, "Oh, your account is in excellent health." Oh, and I'm like, "I know. So could you
Yeah.
just please
Tell me something I
work with
don't know.
me?" Like, oh, brilliant. Okay, well, I'll shoot you an email then, and thank you so much.
Of course, absolutely. Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and wrap this up here. Thanks everybody for joining me today. Glad that hopefully you got some value out of this one. And I will see you on the side. Go ahead and reach out to my team at canopymanagement.com or catch me on social media and look forward to, I do webinars about every 2 or 3 weeks. I do live speaking events. So if there's an event coming up in your area, make sure that you reach out and say, hey, you know what, are you going to be here? Maybe we can grab a coffee or something like that. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to you soon. Have a fantastic rest of your week.